but you're perfect. Has anybody told you today you're special? Has anybody made you believe you're special? Well, I'll always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us. Broken, but hey, but you're perfect. You're special. You're special. I used to feel all alone. Oh, I thought that I'd let you know, in case nobody told you today, you're special. In case nobody made you believe you're special. Well, I'll always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us. Broken, but hey, but you're perfect. Oh, you're special. Oh, you're special. I know that I'm not alone. No. So I thought that I'd let you know, in case nobody told you today you're special. In case nobody made you believe you're special. Well, I'll always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us. Broken, but hey, but you're perfect. Oh, I know that I'm not alone. No. So I thought that I'd let you know, in case nobody told you today you're special. In case nobody made you believe you're special. Well, I'll always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us. Maybe broken, but you're perfect. You're special. All right, everybody. Good morning. Let's have a good Saturday. Annie, you're special too. And Joe and Lynn and Steve and Mike and Penny and Shannon and Margaret and everybody else. Everybody. Mona, Chi, Amanda, Steve, Terry, Doug, Landis. Yay!
I do. Yes.
Hey, working on it.
So I'm always scouring the internet, and I'm always checking out other Unity churches and seeing what they were doing. And I was up in my old stomping grounds in the Seattle area this week, and the musician stepped up to the microphone and she said, "Welcome!" And I thought, I want to do that too. So I welcome you all to our Unity of Chattanooga Sunday celebration service. And it's so nice to see each and every one of you here today. And to all of you on Facebook who are giving us your virtual presence, we welcome each of you as well. My name is Penny Worth, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is still Penny Worth. And I'm joined today by our minister, Reverend Doug Worth, and he is presenting a series right now on the 4 agreements. And I'll tell you, today's topic is a whopper. It is something that I have been working on my entire life, and that's don't take things personally. So it's good that we're here today. And if you're joining us on Facebook, I invite you to greet each other in the comment section and to give us a thumbs up And if you'd like, share this message with someone that might benefit from it. We do have a few new people in our audience this morning, and so I extend a very special welcome to you. If you would just raise your hand, Terry's going to bring you a little welcome packet, and I hope that you'll stay afterwards so we can all meet you more. Here at Unity of Chattanooga, we welcome all people. We believe that there is one power in presence in the world, and that's God the good, omnipotent. And we also honor all paths to God. We believe that there is a divine nature that resides in every single person. And we come here in fellowship to celebrate that divinity in each other. And when you connect to that divinity, I promise you, you'll be able to do things that you never thought you could. I would also like to share this morning a recent statement from Reverend Shad Groven, who is the CEO at Unity Worldwide Ministries. And he says this: "We have been experiencing an interesting time for several years now, and I find myself reflecting on the struggles of so many people around the world at this time. Unity teachings have been so beneficial in my own life that I feel a calling to help get those teachings into the lives of those that it would benefit the most. We at Worldwide Ministries are committed to sharing the practical, positive message of unity to the world to empower more people to answer humanity's call for hope and healing. And it's my personal experience that the first step to empowering people has always been prayer. And that's why we always start our service with prayer. We close our outer eyes so that we can open our inner eyes and see with our heart and listen with our souls. So I invite Rev Doug to come up now and help us to connect with that divine wisdom that resides within us.
So we take a moment now and we light the Christ candle. The candle symbolizes the light, the intelligence, the love, the joy. That is that God presence that is flowing through us this very moment. So we take a moment, take a deep breath, simply release it, let it go. And on that out breath, we release any concerns that we might have this morning, any little thoughts that were tugging on our minds or our hearts. We just let those go. And we feel a guiding presence that is simply love, flowing down across our head and our shoulders, flowing through our entire body, down through our chest, our hips, our legs, connecting deep in the earth. And from that healing earth presence, that aliveness that supports everything on this planet, we feel that energy flowing back up through us, through our legs, our hips, our chest, reinvigorating all those energy centers, all those chakras, and flowing back out through that crown chakra to Father, Mother, God. And as we once again take a deep breath, we just feel today is a special day. It's a special time, right here and right now, to feel good, to feel God's presence, and know that we are loved with a love that is eternal. And for this, we are so grateful. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
It's a really lighthearted song. Going along with Doug's talk. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's not about me. We're all living day to day. We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. If I don't call you right back or email you tonight, don't get in that mental spin, wondering if everything's alright. The desk seems 6 feet under. Sometimes I'm feeling the same way too. I'm going on 3 hours sleep. Where's the left shoe? So don't take it personally. It's not about you, it's not about me. We're all living day to day. We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. If I forget to tell you, you're heaven here on earth. Don't let my absent-minded ways work on your self-worth. Think about it clearly and smile at your mind. You know I love you dearly and everything's just fine. So don't take it personally. It's not about you, it's not about me. We're all living day to day. We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. I don't want to make you suffer. I don't want to play that game. It's my joy to love you. It's okay if you don't feel the same. So don't take it personally. It's not about you, it's not about me. We're all living day to day. We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. All right. Lighten up.
Well, I'm glad I lost a little weight. Well, that was great. And it's perfect for what we're going to talk about today. Yeah, wow. Do you know who Tom Brady is? Yes, some people do. Well, he's a quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the National Football League. And he won the Super Bowl 2 years ago with the Bucs and won 6 of his previous 9 Super Bowl appearances before that with the New England Patriots. The most of any quarterback or any player ever. And over his 22-year football career, which is a record in itself, he was a Super Bowl MVP 5 times, selected to the Pro Bowl 15 times, was the National Football League's most valuable player 3 times, and is widely considered the greatest player of all time. That's why they call him the GOAT, greatest of all time, G-O-A-T. He's got 3 kids, and he's married to a supermodel who makes more money than he does.
Wow.
And if that's not enough, when he finally decides to retire, Fox News has got a standing offer of $375 million for him just to comment on football on Sunday afternoons. Now you'd think with all those awards and records and monies that he's made, he'd be pretty pleased with himself that the pressure to perform would be off or not that great? Think again. He's widely known as the most competitive person that you'll ever meet. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about that warrior spirit and that competitiveness that's a uniquely American trait. Well, he's the quintessential example of that. And he keeps himself in incredible top physical condition with a year-long personal diet and exercise program, and is the one who is always the most prepared for any game that he plays. So why do I tell you all of that? Well, many years ago, when he was just starting out his career, I listened to an interview with him and a sportscaster, and he mentioned a book that he was reading to help him reduce stress in his life and increase his effectiveness as a player. Guess what that book was? 3 guesses. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The very same one that we're talking about right now. And it's good stuff, folks. And early in his career, if he read that and all of this stuff happened, then maybe there's some good stuff out there for us too. You know, you never know. The lessons are simple, the lessons are profound, and they can be life-changing if we apply them. So last week we talked about the first agreement, be impeccable with your word. So as a little refresher, Don Miguel says, speak with integrity, say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and in love. This is the power of the spoken word. It's our power to create. And more so than even our thoughts, which can sometimes be a little elusive and conflicting, what we say gives clarity and force to what we believe and what we intend. It's through our words and the thoughts behind them that our life and circumstances are formed. In the very first paragraphs of the Bible is the first creation story, and 6 times we read, and God said, let there be, and there was. And God saw that it was good. And from the book of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's that creative power. So if we think of God as that creative life force that is available to all of us, flowing through us, then our power to create is linked to what we say. Our words go forth with a power to attract people and circumstances that resonate with them. And our words lay the foundation for our actions, our experience, and our entire life. Don Miguel sums up that agreement by saying, how much you love yourself and how you feel about yourself are directly proportionate to the quality and integrity of your word. When you are impeccable with your word, you feel good, you're happy, and you are at peace. For those of you who are familiar with kinesthetics, anybody? Not quite? Okay. We sometimes refer to it as muscle testing. Yes? Okay. You know that when we speak words of truth, we're physically strong. When we speak non-truthful statements, even if on some level it makes sense, we're weak. And such is the power of our word on a conscious and unconscious level. Now I saw a few blank stares out there, so we'll talk about kinesthetics and muscle testing in the weeks to come, and we'll give you a demonstration of how that works. It's incredible. But anyways, this brings us today to our second agreement. Don't take anything personal. Don Miguel says it this way: nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dreams, their own social programming. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. You see, what causes us to take things personally is our own underlying fears and doubts about ourselves. The words hit an old wound or a still open wound or a hot button. You know, we've all got them. We're living in fear, or it touches that fear. And the remarks of others will trigger that. And if you think about it, it's really kind of selfish, but it's true. The truth is that almost all of what people say and do is about themselves. Now, when I was in ministerial school 20 years ago, we were resident at Unity Village. And every quarter we had a special program, they called them intensives, that was over several days about a particular subject, and it was presented by outside professionals. And both classes, totaling about 50 people, would participate together. And one of these programs, one of these intensives, was called Gifts Differing. And it was an exercise centered around the Myers-Briggs personality profile. And the idea was to learn your particular personality pattern with its strengths and its weaknesses. In other words, the things that you like to do and probably do well, and also the things that you don't like to do and probably don't do well. And then understand how, as a minister or as a person in charge of an organization, attract and use other people's strengths where yours are weak to create a balanced organization where all the bases are covered with people who are in their element and doing what they like to do. That was the idea behind it. For example, if you're an entrepreneurial type involved with creating a greater vision and a greater organization, you probably don't want to keep the books. You know? And what you need is a person who is naturally drawn to the regiment and detail of accounting. And that's the idea behind the program. The things that you're good at, you get to do, and you're not bogged down with the things you don't like to do, and find somebody else who's good at what you don't want to do. Now, I've been involved, most of you know, with running manufacturing facilities for many years, and thought I had a pretty good handle on organizational structures and how to have the right people in the right places. So when they announced this, I was a little bored, but since it was required, I figured we'll go and maybe I'll learn something interesting. Now, a little detail is in order. Terry, if you help me bring this out, we'll just show you a little bit about what the Myers-Briggs personality profile is. And just set that right out front where everybody can see it. And can everybody see that? Kinda? Okay. The personality profile has 4 categories with 2 extremes in each category. Now, you can be any one of 16 different types in here. You can be an E on one side and maybe an F on the other side. You can mix and match those. And also, when you do the profile, there's several hundred questions, and you can be somewhere on a continuum between the 2 extremes. You don't have to be all over here or all over here. You can be somewhere in between. So, extroverts, by the E, are energized by people. They enjoy a variety of tasks, a quick pace, and are good at multitasking, whereas introverts often like working alone or in a small group, prefer a more deliberate pace, and like to focus on one task at a time. Sensors are realistic people who like to focus on the facts and the details and apply common sense and past experience to come up with practical solutions, whereas intuitives are more in the moment, looking for creative ideas, and are not necessarily constrained by past experiences. Thinkers tend to make decisions using logical analysis, objectively weigh the pros and the cons, are results and goal-oriented, whereas feelers tend to be sensitive, cooperative, and decide based on their own personal values and how others will be affected by their actions. Judgers tend to be organized and prepared, like to make and stick to plans, and are comfortable following the rules. Whereas perceivers prefer to keep their options open, like to be able to act spontaneously, and like to be flexible with making plans. Okay? So as you understand the differences and look at this chart, it becomes obvious that people with a strong left side characteristics, the ESTJs, will be drawn to a faster pace, probably in business, getting things done professionally in an organized manner and on time. Whereas people with characteristics on the right side of the chart, the INFPs, are more prone to doing what they like and feel is important, especially for others. And this is where many in the healing professions are, the doctors, psychologists, ministers, teachers, and many in the arts, such as poets, authors, artists, musicians, entertainers. Now, by the way, when I was in ministerial school, every one of our instructors was an INFP, right? Solid, right down the right side. And most of the students in both of our classes were very heavily on the right side. So once we'd taken the test and knew what our personality type was, the presenters divided us randomly up into groups, 7 to 10 per group, gave everyone the same open-ended, ambiguous story and set of circumstances, and asked each group to choose a spokesman for the group, discuss the story, come up with a group consensus or resolution to the issues involved, and later present their conclusions to the whole group of both classes. But they first asked the question, are there any SJs in the group? Well, a few hands went up out of the 50 who were there, one of which was mine. Now, apparently, this was a rather rare combination, at least in our two classes, and they divided up the groups so that there was a single SJ in each one until there weren't enough to go around. So we got into our groups, and I was the only one that showed up with a notebook, paper, and pencil, and was immediately elected to be the spokesman. And everybody looked at me to organize the discussion. So I did. I suggested that we go around the circle, allowing everyone to give a brief observation and their opinions, and then, if time permits, we'll have a discussion. I'll summarize the conclusions that we come up with from the group and present it when I'm asked to do so. And that's what we did. Everyone had a chance to speak. We went right around the circle, although time was a little limited. And once that was complete, I invited any more discussion. Well, there wasn't any, or very little, as I recall. So I summarized what I thought was the group consensus, what I had heard, asked if that seemed correct. A few people nodded. Asked if there was any strong dissenting opinions. Nobody said anything, and about that time the bell rang and the exercise was over. So we went back to our respective seats. And the presenter looked at our group and asked us to be the very first presentation. Okay, so I got up, gave a short presentation of the facts as we saw them, gave our conclusions from my notes, and I sat down. Pretty simple, you know, bored to tears. Not sure why we're doing this, okay. So anyways, the presenter then looked out at both classes and asked if there was anyone else in our group who had any comments. At which time, a woman raised her hand and went on this tirade about how I didn't allow her enough time to speak, didn't hear what she said, the conclusions that I presented did not reflect what was said in the group, and she didn't agree at all with what I had said. I was furious. I was steaming. Did I take it personally? You bet I did. And were it not for that group setting, I can tell you that there would have been a confrontation and there would have been some harsh words and it would have been personal. So the presenter thanked the woman for her comments, then turned to the both classes and said, that demonstration from him and from her, what you just saw was perfect. What? He looked at me and he said, are you the SJ in the group? Yeah. Looking out at both groups, he said the presentation that he made is what SJs do and are good at. They take an ambiguous set of circumstances, organize the situation in details as seems appropriate, and drive towards a solution, a conclusion, or a plan of action. That's exactly what you saw in his presentation. And then he looked at the woman and he asked if her profile included a P. And she said yes. Does your profile include an F? And she said yes. And once again looked at the entire class and said, this FP profile is process-oriented, not conclusion-oriented. They want to express their feelings. They want to be heard and accepted for their opinions. They are not time-constrained and are generally not concerned at all whether anything gets resolved or not. And her comments were a perfect reflection of that profile when the needs aren't met. He then thanked us both and our group for participating in the exercise. And folks, I was so dumbfounded and emotionally drained, I really don't remember anything else about the program. But I learned something profound that day. It's just as Don Miguel says. Don't take anything personally, because nothing others do or say is about you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. And when you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, which is what I learned that day, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. So guys, I want to talk to you for a little bit this morning. This is important. Although it's not always true that women are on the right side of the chart and men are on the left, many times there is a strong correlation and a tendency in that direction. And so when your wife or your girlfriend wants to talk and seems to go on and on about some particular issue that she's having, she's not asking you to fix anything, which is what you probably want to do. She wants you to listen. She wants to be heard and appreciated. She's processing her feelings. So don't give her 3 things that she needs to do to fix the problem. Don't say anything. Just be supportive. Tell her you love her. If you're a manager in an organization with people reporting to you, realize that everybody wants to feel good about themselves and everybody has their stuff. All those idiosyncrasies and personality flaws that we all have to one degree or another. So what do you do when somebody screws up or exhibits behavior that's unacceptable or detrimental to the group? Well, first of all, you need to address it. Remember, what management permits, management condones. And if you don't address it, you're going to be on a slippery slope because others will pick it up and it's only going to get worse. So the way you address it is critical. Don't criticize the person. In other words, don't start out with, listen, you stupid son of a, don't start that way. Because what's going to happen is the barriers are going to go up. They're going to be offended. They're going to be defensive. Conflict will result. And the approach will be counterproductive. Rather, criticize the behavior, not the person. And give an example to further, or offer further training of what should have been done on this particular issue. This is what HR people refer to as corrective counseling, which is not a politically correct term for kicking somebody's butt, okay? But rather an approach, an attempt to teach and train an otherwise valuable employee proper work behavior. It's about correction, not punishment. This same approach applies to kids and grandkids. Don't ever tell them they're stupid. Don't ever tell them you can't do that, because they're going to take in everything you say and they're going to believe it, and it's going to affect their entire life. Rather, when they do something in your opinion that shouldn't have been done, tell them you love them and correct the behavior, not criticize the person. In a similar manner, when somebody is confronting you with some issue, idea, or action that you disagree with, don't respond with, listen, jerk, or, that's dumb, this is what really needs to be done, or some similar confrontational remark, but rather own your own feelings and come from that perspective. For example, you might say, I hear what you're seeing or what you're saying, but I have a different opinion. Or, when you say that, I feel, and what's going to happen is you'll find that with that approach, the other person will most likely at least listen to what you say before the fight. You still might not agree, but at least both sides have been heard, and the door might still be open for further discussion. Switching gears just a little bit. In Unity, we often talk about following our guidance, receiving new ideas in a prayer or meditation practice, being aware of the synchronicities and coincidences in our life, what we sometimes call answered prayer or help from unseen hands. We refer to God or Jesus or our guides and angels as having a profound and positive effect on our lives. And sometimes we talk about hearing or becoming aware of that still small voice. That voice is not a voice. Well, Don Miguel says it this way. He said, sometimes you hear a voice in your mind and you may wonder where it came from. This voice may have come from another reality in which there are living beings very similar to the human mind. The Toltecs called these beings allies. In Europe, Africa, and India, they called them the gods. Our mind also lives in that reality and can perceive that reality. Our mind lives in more than one dimension. There may be times when you have ideas that don't originate in your mind, but you are perceiving them in your mind. Now, this is a profound confirmation of what we also teach. However, just because we are hearing or perceiving thoughts from another dimension does not necessarily mean that source is divine. So if you're taking something someone says or does as a personal attack, if you're taking it personally, if you're angry and you want to retaliate, you are tuning your mind to a frequency that will attract and be open to similar thoughts and ideas. And guess what you're going to pull in? Okay? Just like you tune a radio or a TV to one station, excluding all the others that are available out there. Be careful how you direct and energize your thoughts. Pay attention to what you're paying attention to and what thoughts are coming in to support your particular perspective. How many of us have laid awake all night stewing over something someone said, right? Rehearsing our retaliation in infinite detail. You know, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I see some smiles. Only to find ourselves more upset and drained of energy. And the more that you get into that, the more you pull in similar thoughts. The retaliation takes on a whole different energy. And when you get up in the morning, if you put that into action, it even gets worse. Don Miguel says, you have the right to believe or not believe these voices, and the right not to take what they say personally. We have a choice whether or not to believe the voice we hear with our own minds. Jesus said it this way, do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. Which is why in unity we always counsel you. Take a deep breath, focus on God, not the issue at hand. And then from all the thoughts racing through your mind, focus on the highest and the best for all concerned. Ask specifically for divine guidance. We underscore the word divine, okay? And tune your thoughts wisely, for they will attract like kind. Another thing, if you have a meditation practice, or if you've tried it a few times and know that as you try to focus on your breath, you try to focus on a Bible passage, or you just want to quiet your mind, sooner or later, you find yourself immersed in a whole dialogue of thoughts from all over the place and wonder how you got so far off the track. We call it the monkey mind. Am I the only one? No, okay. Don Miguel says it this way, the mind can also talk and listen to itself. It's a big problem when 1,000 parts of your mind are all speaking at the same time. It can be compared to a huge marketplace where thousands of people are talking and bartering at the same time. Each one has a different thought. Each one has a different point of view. All the programming in the mind, all of these agreements that we've made are not necessarily compatible with each other. Every agreement is like a separate living being. It has its own personality, it has its own voice. And all these little living beings create inner conflict because they are alive and they each have a voice. You see, what's important is when you understand this about yourself and understand that all people have this going on, then it becomes critical that you learn how to not get caught up in other people's issues that then trigger your issues and create a big unhappy mess. Don't take it personally. It just triggers all this stuff. Don Miguel says, only by making an inventory of our agreements will we uncover all of the conflicts in the mind and eventually make order out of chaos. In unity, we call this self-awareness, and we teach the tools of inner reflection. And so Don Miguel sums up this second agreement this way. He says, as you make a habit of not taking anything personally, you won't need to place your trust in what others do or say. You will only need to trust yourself to make responsible choices. You are never responsible for the actions of others. You are only responsible for you. When you truly understand this and refuse to take things personally, you can hardly be hurt by the careless comments or actions of others. Remember Tom Brady? Talked about it a little bit earlier? Well, I was sitting patiently in the doctor's waiting room a couple of days ago, and I was casually perusing some news trivia on my cell phone, and I came across a current interview with him. And the interviewer was asking him about a recent press statement about something he had allegedly said concerning some juicy issue. And here's his response. I think they just mischaracterized a lot. Didn't call him a liar. And my personality isn't ever one to insult anybody. I have plenty of my own flaws, and I'm not here to point out anyone else's flaws. There are things that I agree with. There are things that I don't. There are things I agree with my wife about. There are things that I don't. I love her to death, but we don't always see eye to eye. I don't see eye to eye with anyone. And I'm not responsible for what other people say. I'm really only responsible for what I say. So if people want to say things that I have reportedly said or that I'm about, that's up to them. And I'm not going to respond to all those things anyway. I wonder where he got that. Maybe from a good book. Let's take a few moments and just let all this settle for just a moment. So as we always say in Unity, take a deep breath. Breathe in the good and let everything else flow away. Thank you, God. And thank you, Don Miguel, for these words of wisdom. And as we hear the stories, and all those stories come up in our own mind, all those times when we took it personally, all those times when we were right and he was wrong, or she didn't know what she was talking about. We just sit in the moment with a bigger picture, understanding that there are so many people in the world today, so many friends, family members, lovers, and we're all different. God is working through each and every one of us with our own issues, with things that we do well, things that we don't do well. And as we go forward from today, we simply take that burden off our shoulders. We give it back to God. And know that as we go forward and we find people that we really don't agree with, we just say, okay, I'll go someplace else. I'll go be with some people that I enjoy being with. We don't criticize. We don't judge. We just follow our guidance down a little different path. And so this morning, as we think of all these things, how to be impeccable with our words, how to not take anything personal, we feel an inner guidance, a presence, a soft, loving feeling, an arm around our shoulder that says, it's all good. Now you understand. Let's walk hand in hand together and create a beautiful life together with God. let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in a great prophet, a great teacher, who is perhaps with us this morning. And for this, we are so grateful. Thank you, God. So it is.
And all things beautiful, all things good, all illusion, misunderstood, in peace and mindfulness, all fade into the light. Spirit makes all things beautiful in my life.
Well, now is the time in our service when we get to give back, when we take an opportunity to experience the law of circulation. And we simply know that as we give, then so we receive. And I would encourage all of you who are watching on the internet this morning through Facebook to also give back to this Unity of Chattanooga organization, because it's with your gifts that allows us to continue and to bring forth a message and music and prayer to you every morning. And we behold you in your jammies and your coffee. You can know you're having a great time. So please think of us also. So together, let's simply state our offering statement. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I receive in abundance.
And all things beautiful, and all things good, all illusion, misunderstood, in peace and mindfulness, all fade into the light. Spirit makes all things beautiful in my life. In peace and mindfulness, all fade into the light. Spirit makes all things beautiful in my life.
Beautiful. Nice. And so we give thanks for these tithes and these offerings so freely given from an open and overflowing heart. And we know and affirm that they go forward to bless each and every person here, to bless our families and those we come in contact with. And from us, it goes forth to bless this community and to bless the world. And for this, we are so grateful. Thank you, God.
Well, Doug, I think I took your talk personally, but that's because I thought it was great. So we always have a few announcements just so that you know what's going on during the weekday. On Wednesday, we always offer a little midweek spiritual boost on our Facebook page with Shannon and Rev Doug. And it's just a little chit chat about talk on Sunday or what else is happening in life. And it's just another way to connect with your higher self. So I invite you all to watch that. It's at 4 o'clock which is not always convenient, but it is archived so you can check it out anytime. We also have a prayer box on the center table in the back, and if you have a special prayer request, we invite you to write that down, and it will be prayed over for 30 days. And if you would like a prayer in person, our prayer chaplain, Terry, is in the back of the room with a purple shawl on this morning. The board has also created another opportunity for us to get together, and that's on Thursdays at 6 o'clock at Whole Foods in the upper mezzanine on Manufacturers Road. And you know, people usually get a little bite to eat and we chit chat for about an hour, and it's just another way to get to know each other a little more personally. And I also want to make you aware of an annual Unity Retreat that takes place every year in the fall. And this year it's going to be at Lake Junaluska on September 20th through the 23rd. And there's a website, unityretreat.us, and there's also some registration forms in the back in case you're interested. Next week, Reverend Faye Ann will be here, and she'll be speaking about another one of our Unity 12 powers. And we are also having our monthly potluck after that, so I invite you all to bring a dish to share. And our last announcement comes from Mona Petro, who is our board president and also in charge of our community outreach program. And next week, she's inviting all of you to bring in little individualized drinks, whether it's Gatorades or Capri Suns, and they're actually going to take that down to the homeless area downtown in Chattanooga and give those out. So if you feel led, please bring something in, or there's also a little pretty flower box back there if you just want to make a monetary donation. So as we bring our service to a close, I invite you all now to stand and join in a circle and sing our peace song.
Did you get an announcement?
I just gave it for you.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
that's right.
okay.
Before service changes.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator. In oneness all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be